Thanks for having us out here today, and love the fact that you're joining us here on the show this early.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be here. Great to be in El Paso.
For you, first time in El Paso, or have you been here before?
No, I've been to one Sun Bowl game. It was back when I was at the Big East, and I used to negotiate with Bowls to send Big East teams to bowl games. So Bernie Olivas and I did a deal to send a Big East team annually. It was the first year we had a team, and the game was USF against Oregon. And so I was here for that game. And then over the course of the past year, I've been out here maybe 4 or 5 times. Every year when we have our annual meeting, once that ends, we turn our focus to the next year's annual meeting, and we make several trips to the destination to get all the planning going.
This meeting is awesome. When you walk into the convention center and you just go into the lobby, you see everybody gathering here in the main hall. Right now we've got all the vendors set up, and for the next couple of hours they get the opportunity to mix. It seems like it's just a one-stop shop for every bowl game every year to come together and get good ideas and obviously talk amongst each other and just compare notes.
Well, that's exactly what it is. The bowl business is very unique. The jobs that these people have working for bowl games, it's not the kind of job where they can go down to their corner store or go grab a drink down the street in their hometown and talk business, because there's very few people who work in the bowl business. So this meeting is designed to bring together everybody who works for a bowl game, everybody who does business with bowl games. We have professional development sessions. We have group breakout meetings, panel discussions, and a lot of networking. It's an opportunity for the people who work for the various bowl games to talk to their colleagues. They become friends over the years. They really don't compete. They do the same things, but they're in different markets across the country. So there's a lot of camaraderie amongst the group, and they just enjoy being around each other.
Was it a no-brainer for you a little more than 4 years ago to join the team out here at bowl season?
Absolutely. Prior to that, I worked for Under Armour doing outfitting deals with college athletic departments. I worked for the Big East Conference, as I mentioned, doing bowl deals. So I love college football. I love bowl games. I love the history and the tradition of it. When this job opened up, they reached out to me. I think I was one of a small group of people that was qualified for it. Not a lot of people know the intricacies of bowl games, and I had been around it at multiple levels. I was a GA at Syracuse back in the day, and we played in the Fiesta Bowl. I was a recruiting coordinator at Notre Dame, and we went to bowl games. So I've kind of been around the bowl business for years and was very fortunate to get this job 4 years ago.
Do you feel like you're kind of continuing to get motivated by the ever-changing era of college athletics and college football in particular, or does it sometimes weigh you down, in this whole process?
Yeah, well, it's certainly changing. It doesn't weigh me down. It certainly keeps me employed. I mean, the more it changes, the more they need me to help it evolve. I think, college athletics evolves very slowly compared to the rest of the world, the rest of the sports world. Rule changes, new ways of doing things, innovations seem to come slowly. The bowl business might evolve even slower. So part of my job is to motivate the various bowl games and their executive directors to grasp new concepts, new innovative ways of marketing and promoting. The whole concept of NIL is something that I think we're all going to have to embrace. We're really looking forward to the days when colleges and universities can control their own NIL instead of outside collectives. We think there should be some type of agreement between the athletes and the universities for what they're getting paid to do. And we think playing in a bowl game should be part of it. It is a little bit disheartening to think that, players are choosing not to play in bowl games. And I'm interested to hear another perspective about that in a minute. I have a feeling I'm going to. You
will. Cade is chomping at the bit to get in on
yeah,
this.
So
yes.
Let's get into that. And I'd love to hear from a student-athlete's perspective about the world of NIL, about playing in bowl games and the passion that you have for playing college football.
Yeah, well, like I said, or I've said this on the show so many times, I grew up wanting to be like my dad, who played quarterback at East Carolina in the early 90s, and so the only thing I've ever wanted to do is play Division I college football. And now that I'm getting that chance to, going back, my dad played in the Peach Bowl and was a part of that squad, and I've always wanted to play in a bowl game. And so going and playing in that bowl game is at the top of the list. I would never be one of the guys that opted out of it. It just wouldn't be in my plans. And I understand that other guys have, different opinions on that, and sometimes that's maybe not the route that they go. But I can tell you from where I'm sitting, that would never happen with me. I would play in one of those bowl games. One of the things that I'm very interested to ask you is, do you have any examples of how transfer portal and NIL and the evolution of college football over these last couple of years How has that specifically impacted everything that you guys are doing here, being a director of all of this? How has that really changed the process?
Yeah, I mean, it's made it harder. We always felt for years, bowl games have been around for 100 years, that you put on this great event, players earn their way, the opportunity to play one more bowl game, and the assumption always is they want to play in those games. They want to experience a new destination, someplace maybe they've never been to before. They want to play a team that their school probably wouldn't schedule normally. I think it's a great mechanism to promote the game of college football, that all of these 40 destinations across the country are getting to watch a game that they wouldn't get to normally. But, as things change, people change. There's so many influences in the world. People are selfish. There's the notion, well, maybe they don't want to play in the games. I don't believe that. I think your perspective's refreshing. As someone who's getting older now, I think perspective is a very valuable thing. I fear that guys who decide not to play in bowl games 20, 30 years down the road are going to be kicking themselves and going, damn, I would give anything to play one more bowl game. I bet your dad says that, to play one more football game. I don't think anybody's going to say 20 years from now, I wish I didn't play in that game. That sucked. I had no fun. I didn't want to do it. That just doesn't happen. And as you get older and you don't have the same opportunities and you don't have you're only going to play football for so long. Passing up on those opportunities, that's a risky proposition. Regret's a tough thing to have to live with.
Nick Corporelli is the executive director of bowl season. He joins us here on Sports Talk as we approach the bottom of the hour. It's funny. We were talking to Kate earlier, and we've talked about this a lot. EA Sports getting involved in college football, and it's coming this summer. A lot of people are excited about that. Bernie told us that EA is involved as well with this, because I was wondering if bowl games would be a big feature, because it seems crazy. You play a regular season, everybody wants the playoff, but you got to have bowl games represented in that as well, don't you?
Yeah, I just gave a report on that today to the executive directors. I'm in constant contact with the developers at EA Sports. They're going to have our bowl season logo on the field. They're going to have the big, Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl logo at midfield right here at the Sun Bowl Stadium. And their goal is to make their game as realistic as possible to the way it is in the world. So if you're a kid playing a full season on EA Sports and you have your final record, it's going to show you what bowl game you're going to, who you're going to play, and it's going to look and feel just like the bowl games do.
I got news for you. The man to my right is probably going to be playing that game as soon as he can try to portray himself and see how far he can take UTEP in college football 25.
Kate, are you going to accept the level they give you, or are you going to create your own self that's a little bit higher?
We actually had this debate on the show. We had a Twitter poll to see what people think that my rating was going to be, and that was pretty interesting to see what people were going to say. I'm going to have to see. If they do me dirty, I might have to make my own character.
What did people think? Was it humbling to you, or were you flattered?
It was around what I was expecting, probably in the low 70s to the high 60s, and I understand that. There's going to be, the Power Fives get a lot of the higher ratings than the overalls, and some of the Group of Fives probably get pushed down, but the goal is to have that be a whole lot better after this season.
Oh, no doubt. You're going to start out on fire, and you're going to raise that instantly.
I like that. I like that attitude.
Nick, where do we see bowls going in the next couple of years? Because of the changes with all the agreements ending in 2025, you've seen what's happened to the Pac-12 now and how that's continued to morph, not to mention the expansion of the playoffs. Where do you see college football bowl games going here in the next few years once the agreement's over?
Yeah, I mean, college bowl games aren't going anywhere. College football needs bowl games. The leadership of the NCAA, and even though college football is outside of the NCAA, it's still the commissioners and the athletic directors that run it. They've made a conscious decision to increase the number of postseason opportunities in all sports. You hear a lot of chatter about the NCAA men's basketball tournament growing. I don't necessarily agree with that, but that's neither here nor there. College football can't have a postseason system where only 12 teams get to play at the end of the regular season. That's just not appropriate. There's many more deserving teams who have accomplished, who their definition of success might be different. Most teams can't aspire to be in the playoff on a regular basis. So what are they playing for? There's a lot of examples I use. You look at what Northwestern did this year. Their student athletes didn't deserve the hand that they were dealt at the beginning of the year with their coach getting fired. Nobody thought they would get to a bowl game. Maybe win 2 games tops. They get to a bowl game. They go to the Las Vegas Bowl. They beat a really good Utah team. And what a great experience for those student athletes. I look at a team like Rutgers from the Big Ten. They made the toughest division in football. They have to play Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. Somehow they scrape together 6 wins. They're 6-6. They play in the Pinstripe Bowl. They sell it out. They play Miami, get their 7th win, and you watch them celebrate and the reactions. It's you wouldn't know if it's the Pinstripe Bowl or the national championship game. And there's a bowl for every team, and they're really meaningful for the teams that participate. I mean, Cade said it himself. I'm sure you would give anything to play in a bowl game, and for you to do that before your career's over would be something you remember the rest of your life.
Absolutely, and it's one of the things that we talk about every day in our building is not only getting to a bowl, but going to win one. And it's not just, a consolation game where we're going out just to have fun for the week, but we're also going out there because that would be a statement for UTEP. That would be history for how long it's been since we've won a bowl game, and that means something. So for somebody to say that, bowls are going to be obsolete and not happen in the future is crazy. And that's the other thing, too, is that bowl games are really fun. I mean, that's the reward, right, for having a great season is getting to go to a bowl game to a different destination. I remember in 2022 when we almost beat UTSA at the end of the year to potentially send us to a bowl, we were thinking, what bowl could we potentially get to? And one of them, I'm looking at the logo right now, one of them was maybe we get the Bahamas Bowl. That was my first year at UTEP coming in. I was like, wait, we're going to get to go to the Bahamas and play a game potentially? I mean, it was crazy. So, that's the other part of it, too, is that it's fun for the players. It's a reward. And there's only positive stuff that comes out of these bowl games, and evidence of it is right here, and all these people in this room right now, putting in so much work to make things like this happen because they're awesome.
Nick, I want to ask you more about your background. Specifically, you told us already Under Armour was part of your background, Big East as well, but you also were part of the New England Patriots as a director of operations for the Super Bowl team, Super Bowl 36. What was that experience like?
It was awesome. Coach Belichick hired me. I was the football recruiting coordinator at Notre Dame. It wasn't a no-brainer to take the job because working at Notre Dame was a pretty good job. And Bill Belichick wasn't Bill Belichick yet. He had just come off his first season in New England. They were 5-11. He had gotten fired from the Browns before that. I grew up in New England. I grew up in Connecticut. So that kind of helped, and I took the job, and it's one of the best decisions I made. We won the Super Bowl that year, and so many great stories. Worked with him directly. I reported to him, and I know I did a good job because I've seen people do bad jobs, and he has no time for that. But he and I have had a really good relationship to this day, and that's pretty special.
So with all the things you've done prior to bowl season and being the executive director, was there one particular stop that to you still stands out amongst all the others? So
I'm glad you asked that because if I write a book someday, and I think I will, it's going to be how I got it's going to be titled Dream Job, how I got mine 6 times. And I really mean that. And part of the story will be, what is a dream job? What's a perfect job? I think when I was, my 20s, if you could have any job, what would it be? I'd probably say president of the Yankees, but I would have failed miserably because I wasn't qualified for that. So my first job was as a graduate assistant for the football program at Syracuse. We go to the Fiesta Bowl. I was so passionate about that your first impression is always your biggest. But I was qualified to do it. I know I did a good job. I learned a lot, and it elevated me to be ready to be the recruiting coordinator at Notre Dame, which was my second job. That led to the Patriots. That led to the Big East job. That led to Under Armour, and now I'm running bowl season. And every single job I was so proud to have. I loved going to work every day. It wasn't a job. I was prepared enough to do the job well, but it also challenged me to get better. So in a way, every job when I had it was the perfect job for me at the right time, and it was in a sense a dream job without rushing myself, without getting ahead of myself. And every single one each one built on the one before.
Nick Corporelli with us, Executive Director, bowl season. I'm amazed that your staff is as small as it is. What is it? It's a 4-person operation?
Yeah. When they hired me 4 years ago, it was a 1-person operation. It wasn't called bowl season. It was the Football Bowl Association. It was really kind of mom and pop. And they said, hey, I want you to paint a vision and build it. So over time, as we generated more revenue through all these sponsors you see in this room, we were able to hire a director of partnerships who would sell more sponsorships. We then hired a director of operations to help organize it, and then finally a director of public relations, and they do a great job.
You tell me, will we ever see bowl season continue to expand, or are you happy right now with where you're at as far as just the entire operation?
Yeah, I think in terms, you mean in terms of the number of bowl games, or in terms of what we do as an
organization? What you do as an organization.
Yeah, always trying to expand that. Like, we're always trying to find new ways to promote all the great things that bowl games do. I mean, we do 20 podcasts every year, just legends of college football talking about their great experiences. We do newsletters. We have a radio network, and I'm constantly out there trying to talk to people about what's great about bowl games. But we're always looking for new initiatives. We think we might introduce a pick'em game next year, kind of like a March Madness. Pick the 42 winners, and the grand champion gets to go to the national championship game, and maybe there's smaller prizes along the way. We're looking into a bowl season documentary. Think about a Netflix or Amazon Prime, kind of what's cool, what's unique about each bowl game. There's a lot of stories to be told there. So a lot of things we could do. One of the most fun parts about my job is how creative I'm allowed to be and think up all of those new ideas.
I like it. Are we at the perfect number of bowl games right now? Do you feel like this is a very manageable number? Would you like more? Would you like less? Or you tell me, where are we at?
Well, I think there's no such thing as too many bowl games, personally. But I think we are at the maximum. You have to be 6-6 to be bowl eligible. It'd be nice to know how many teams are going to be bowl eligible at the beginning of the season, but obviously we don't know till the end of the season. This year we had one team. We were one team short, so Minnesota filled in at 5-7. The year before we were one team short. 2 years before that we had one team too many. So I think it feels like we're right at the right number.
I was going to say, to me, as long as we don't have 5 and 7 teams qualify, it seems like that's about right. 6 and 6 or better. To me, that's really the definition of going to a bowl.
That's right. I don't think we want 5 and 7 teams in bowl games. But then again, we don't want a bowl game that's planned for a full year to not be played. So they're kind of there to fill in. But if we start adding more bowl games, then you're going to be seeing 5 and 7 teams go as a matter of routine, and I don't think we want that.
Last question. Right now we're in the middle of the mixer. We see everybody going to all the different indoor areas. What will we see here tomorrow before things wrap up in El Paso?
Tomorrow we have some great presentations, great panel discussions. Again, this is educational for everybody involved. We're going to have 6 title sponsors on stage speaking about why they entered into a title sponsorship for a bowl game, what they expected out of it, what they ended up receiving, what they would do differently. So that's we have representatives from Kellogg's with Tony the Tiger, Kellanova that does Cheez-It and Pop-Tarts, Duke's Mayo, Scooters Coffee, GoBowling.com. So really kind of a spectrum of types of sponsors, so looking forward to that. And then we also have a presentation on agencies coming in to talk about how they put a value on those title sponsors. What are they worth? What are sponsors paying, and what are they getting in return? And then there's more networking. It's capped off by our big event. Visit El Paso's putting on a big celebration over in San Jacinto Plaza, feeding everybody out of food trucks. There's going to be live music, drone show at the end to really kind of cap off this bowl season annual meeting.
Very nice. Nick, enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for stopping by. And, again, appreciate you letting us be a part of the opportunity, the event here these last couple days.
We appreciate you being here, and thanks for having me on.
He's Nick Carparelli, Executive Director of Bowl Season, joining us on Sports Talk. Back with more in a moment. 600, it's ESPN El Paso. Back here on Sports Talk as we continue, 47 now past the hour. We are live at Bowl Season's annual convention here in El Paso, downtown El Paso Convention Center. Been a good start to the show so far. Nick Caparelli was terrific. Bernie Olivas got us started. Cade's just enjoying the experience. I mean, you tell me, how many student athletes get an opportunity to just spend a random April day downtown and experience something where every bowl in America has all convened for the same purpose?
Nobody gets to do this. I mean, how lucky am I? I don't think you're going to see another athlete in here that's on a roster right now. And that's why I was talking to Adrian about it earlier. I have the best internship ever. I'm so happy I get to be with you guys. And it's just so cool to see this. You know, we were talking about it earlier with Bernie and Nick, but there's so much that goes into bowl season. There's so much that goes into these bowl games. And it's so cool to see because as a football fan and someone who loves watching these bowl games, to see all the behind-the-scenes workings and how much effort and work goes into something like this to make the spectacular bowl games and events happen, it's really special to see, and I'm honored that I get to be a part of it and kind of see what's going on.
You know, we got a chance to walk all around, Cade. Not only did they have the bar set up out here, which we got some waters very proudly, but they have a lot of different merchandise spots. We saw a spot that had a bunch of watches for all the different bowl games. Imagine going to a bowl game, getting to collect one of these watches. You also had one that had vintage T-shirts. Check these out, Steve. Sun Carnival Classic T-shirts right here.
Oh, that's
like
cool.
Throwback ones. They were so neat.
They need to sell those.
That's what I asked them. I was like, can I buy one of these right here?
Yeah, because if they sold those at the game, I think there's a real market for those. T-shirts with replica programs would be terrific. It really would.
Yeah, they're awesome. They look awesome. That's what we were saying.
Awesome is right.
They look great. But it was those looked really awesome, Steve. I love the one that specifically that said the first annual Sun Bowl Football Classic, and it's the El Paso All-Stars versus Ranger High School, January 1st, 1935, New Year's Day, for this matchup right here, the first ever Sun Bowl Football Classic. How amazing right there.
Hey, meanwhile, as we continue, the guests are just going to keep on coming in. I understand John from PAC Sports is with us right now. And listen, guys, I've been told that he works with every bowl game practically in the nation when it comes to gift suites, that this is his specialty. So if that's the case, we found the right guy because as a student athlete here at UTEP can attest, if you go to a bowl game, Cade, the first thing you're going to want to know is, hey, those gift suites.
That's right. That's what we were just talking about with Nick earlier, is that one of the coolest things about going to a bowl game is how much fun they are for the players, and you get gifts coming in. There's a lot of cool things happening. I know that I would be excited about it for sure.
All right, so John, first off, welcome here. I understand that for you, it's really not just about bowl games. You do everything, including tournaments for youth as well as college football. First trip to El Paso, you've been here before?
I've been here a ton of times. Love El Paso. Coming to see Bernie Olivas and the board members here and everybody else. It's like almost a second home.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love coming to El Paso. The people are great, and facility is great. When we come in here to do your bowl game and do the gift suite, I tell everybody you've got the best venue in the country for what we can do.
Tell us about the gift suite and really what that entails when you work with bowl games like the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl.
So the gift suite is an opportunity for student athletes to have an abundance of choices. Originally, back in the old days, usually a bowl would give away a gift, and almost everybody had them already.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's right.
We came up with a concept for a gift suite where we offer different price points, tiers, and probably 10 items per tier. So in this case, it's a 7-tier gift suite that the Sun Bowl offers, which is one of the top ones in the country. And the students, when they come in, they have an opportunity to choose from approximately 70 gifts.
Wow.
So they've got a lot of really cool things to do.
How many bowl games do you work with right now?
Probably 38.
So almost all of them.
Yeah.
That's and then each of those bowl games can take different level gift suites depending on their budget, what they have to work with, and they go from there.
Correct.
Okay. What's the coolest gift suite gift that you've seen so far since you started doing this and rolling them out?
We used to have recliners. COVID.
That's awesome.
COVID did away with that.
Oh.
I mean, we've done mountain bikes, Trek mountain bikes. This year we put rings in for the first time as an opportunity. A custom Sun Bowl ring. We've done all kinds of electronics. You name it, we do it, from televisions of different kinds to blenders, everything that you can think of.
John Cooperstein with us from Pack Sports as we continue. All right, if you go to a gift suite and let's say you're able to get to a bowl game in the next 2 years before you graduate to UTEP, what's the first thing or the one thing that you would love to know? So you get to that gift suite, what would be your number one item you'd want?
Oh, I don't know what my number one item I would want would be, but what I am curious, because I have not been to a bowl game yet, and that's the goal for this year. UTEP's going to a bowl game, and we're going to get to see that gift suite. But I've been told like it's a system where players have like a certain number of points, right? And they can go and spend those. So if you want to get a top-tier gift, you may not get as many, correct? Whereas if you want to get a lower-tier one, you may have more points to spread around. Is that correct?
Correct. So with a 7-tier gift suite, you have an opportunity, any combination of 7 points. So you could pick 7 1-tier items or 1 7-tier item.
Got it.
And the thing that's really neat about the gift suite also is for this gentleman and a lot of others, when they come in, and women for their sports as well, when they come in, a lot of times you'll see them on the phone with their mom or grandma or their girlfriend trying to decide what to get. And quite often, some student athletes will choose 7 items to be able to give out as Christmas gifts.
Oh, that's very cool.
It really is. It's a neat thing. It gives everybody an opportunity to get what they need.
Last question for you, since you're working with so many of these bowl games, is the opportunity to just network with them because it's one place, you see them all together over the course of a day or two and get a chance to reconnect with everybody?
Love doing this because of that. The other thing with us, though, is we literally go to see everybody. Most vendors don't have the ability to do that. We're based in Carrollton, Texas, and we've got a really, really good setup. And, again, most of these people are family at this point.
Yeah.
So coming to see Bernie Olivas and that crew is the best.
I love it. Well, John, thanks for coming to see us and telling us a little bit about what you do, and looking forward to checking everything out and just being a part of this great event out here.
A pleasure. Have a great day.
You too. He's John Cooperstein, folks, from Pack Sports as we wrap up hour number 1. We got more coming up, so stay with us. Sports Talk continues. It's 600 ESPN El Paso.
I'm Alberto Rueta with your 600 ESPN El Paso Sports Center update. Michigan will serve 3 years of NCAA probation, pay a fine, and face recruiting restrictions after the university and 5 current or former football employees reached an agreement with the NCAA enforcement staff on recruiting violations and coaching activities by non-coaching staff members and staff members, the NCAA announced Tuesday. The agreed-upon penalties also include a 1-year show cause order for the participating individuals. The portion of the case that involves former Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh, who was hired by the Los Angeles Chargers in late January, will be considered separately by the Committee on Infractions, and then it will determine its full decision according to the release from the NCAA. Now let's move on to some more NFL news. Browns QB Deshaun Watson says he's back to throwing full speed. Cleveland Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson said he's throwing at full speed again. And as he continues to work his way back from last year's season-ending right shoulder injury, Watson underwent surgery in November to repair a displaced fracture to the glenoid in his throwing shoulder. Everything is in full motion, Watson said Tuesday after reporting from Cleveland's off-season program. Now over to some Chihuahuas news. Chihuahuas resume play today. They take on the 5th place Isotopes, who are 3-12. Chihuahuas currently at 6-9. Coverage starts here on 600 ESPN El Paso at 6:30. Don't miss it. That with Tim Haggerty. I'm Alberto Rueta with your 600 ESPN El Paso Sports Center update.
Start of hour number 2 here on Sports Talk. We are live. It is the Bowl Season 2024 annual convention, and it's happening here for the first time in El Paso. We're in downtown El Paso at the El Paso Convention Center. We've got Alberto Urueta handling things from the 600 ESPN El Paso, River Oaks Properties, Schoolyard Sports Studios. Oh, I wish Lane Frank was here. He'd be like a kid at a candy store, wouldn't you, gentlemen?
I know. We probably need to tell our boy Lane to stop by tomorrow because this is truly a 2-day event that you want to be a part of.
It is.
Being out here, the 2024 annual meetings for bowl season.
And it's just been a lot of fun for us. Kate McConnell sits in with us every Tuesday, Thursday, which means he gets to take this in for the first time and kind of experience this like we are. It's kind of fun because we're all doing this for the first time right now, Kate. We've never been a part of this, so we're seeing it, and you are as well.
We are, and it's so cool. No one really understands what has been going on behind the scenes, but everybody's out here conversing, kind of like we said earlier, comparing and sharing notes about each individual bowl and how they plan it so they can make bowl season better. We just spoke to the executive director, Nick, and he was awesome, just kind of giving some insight onto what goes on and how he's been able to take this from, a ground level with really no planning at all into what it's come to fruition to today. And we have, it looks like, a couple hundred people here right now. Yep. Ideas are flowing. It's a really well-organized, set-up event, and I can't wait to keep walking around and just keep looking at stuff.
I love the vendor booths. In fact, Sidearm Sports is to our right. They help stream the games for the El Paso Chihuahuas and for UTEP as well, so they're a big part of that. I see a Yeti booth just a little bit down, and we were checking them out earlier because they've got a little bit of everything. That's a really cool stand. You had a chance to do the golf simulator. There's also another company that does like custom footballs. That's really cool, where they take a football and can paint it up and make it look a little special.
Steve, it's actually a football that is used all around the country for the universities. So not only do they make custom footballs for people online that can go on and order them, but they're also one of the companies and brands and factories that make the footballs for Power 5 universities and Group of 5 universities all across the country.
And you saw a few balls that you even though you're not using now at UTEP, you recognize those from probably other places you've seen them.
Absolutely. mean, those are the actual balls that you see on TV every single weekend on Saturdays when you're watching college football.
I feel like most of this, like when we're talking about gift suites or priorities on what to choose, we just mentioned the Yetis. We talked about the footballs. Imagine those in a gift suite. But, I mean, it feels like it's hard to come up with a priority list until you're actually in the moment, Cade. Like, I'm curious to see when you actually get a chance to do this for the first time, if you're able to do this for the first time, and actually pick out some gifts for a bowl suite like this.
I know. Steve asked me earlier what my number one gift would be, and I couldn't even think of something on the spot because there's so many different options. I've heard of people getting sunglasses. I've heard of people getting headphones. I've heard of people getting, like toaster ovens or air fryer or something like that. There's so many different things that student athletes can get when they go to these bowl games. I'm so excited. I can't wait for UTEP to do well, and we're going to get there. We're going to be able to choose one of these gifts.
Yeah, I mean, all these gifts that you see all across the board are so neat. And then the customization side of it, too. I mean, we've seen a lot of different tumblers and stuff like that customized as well.
No doubt. We get another guest dropping in our broadcast booth today. He's Harold Grader, the Associate Executive Director of the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, played out in Memphis, Tennessee, which features the Big 12 and the SEC. First off, appreciate you being here with us, Harold. And you tell me, first trip to El Paso, or have you been here before?
First trip to El Paso, having a great time, love your city, and look forward to coming back. Now, I'm a native Texan, and I've been to just about every part of this state except El Paso. Now, I've checked that box, and it won't be the last time.
Where'd you grow up?
Well, I grew up in Memphis,
okay,
but my family's from Houston. Grandparents were from Central Texas, just east of Austin in Giddings, Texas. But I'm hardcore Texas. I'm an Astros fan, Cowboys fan. So great to be back in God's country, back in the great state of Texas.
It's interesting that you go Astros and Cowboys. You could have said Cowboys and Rangers. You could have gone Astros and Texans. Although I like the fact that you're kind of mixing and matching Houston and Dallas when it comes to football and baseball.
Well, growing up in Memphis, a child of the 70s, coming of age in the 70s, 3 o'clock on CBS on Sundays, what team did we see? The Dallas Cowboys. And Roger Staubach was my guy. All of those era of Dallas Cowboy football players were heroes of mine. Coach Landry, legendary. Again, but being a native Houstonian, the Astros are my team. I was a Cesar Cedeno guy. Had a chance to meet him numerous times over the years, and so that's how I split my sports loyalties.
That's good. Plus, you got to watch Nolan Ryan when he came over from the Angels, and the human highlight reel when he was with the Astros in those days.
There you go. Absolutely.
I understand. Let's talk about the Liberty Bowl, the 66th Liberty Bowl, which will be this season. I mentioned earlier Big 12 against SEC. I guess Big 12, it's interesting now with all the new teams coming in and how the conference has expanded.
Yeah, it gives us some variety with the 4 new schools that are coming in this year. Obviously, the Big 12 added schools last year as well. And, there's some talk about those teams that are leaving the Pac-12 for the Big 12, whether there may be some things going on there to assist the bowls that are still under contract to the Pac-12. So I don't want to go too far out there in my public comments because a lot of it is speculation, but there are some conversations. But the big picture, to your question, yes, down the road, it gives us more flexibility. Some teams that have never been in the mix for us in Memphis. So we're excited about it. For the most part, the Big 12 markets are drivable for us. We really love those schools from the Midwest. Kansas State, Iowa State, those fans could drive to our city. Most of the SEC schools can drive to Memphis. We're a drive market, and we're right in the heart of the footprints of both of those conferences for the most part. Now the Big 12 goes way out west, but that's all good. And, college athletics, college football is changing, and you got to adapt with it.
Liberty Bowl has featured some excellent matchups over time. 2 years ago, the game really stands out to me. Arkansas, Kansas State. You mentioned the Wildcats and what they've brought to the table. That one had over 50,000 people in attendance and a 3 overtime game.
3 overtime game, and that's only the second overtime game in our history. As you mentioned in the intro, this is year 66 for us. We're the 7th oldest bowl game, having started in 1959 in Philadelphia, hence the Liberty Bowl name. But yeah, the multi-overtime game a couple of years ago was awesome. Our friends in Houston weren't too thrilled because I think we went about an hour into their TV window. But the TV numbers were great for us, and again, there's nothing like bowl time. And that game, again, one of our great historic games. Bear Bryant coached in his last game in our game, then just as known as the Liberty Bowl in '82. The first indoor college football game, the first indoor bowl game was the Liberty Bowl in 1964 in Atlantic City, in the Atlantic City Convention Center. It'd be like playing a football game in this building. It was back where they had the Miss America pageants back in those days in 1964, having started in Philly. But so we have a great history. A lot of legendary names from coaches and players have played and walked the sidelines of our game. And when you've been around for 66 years, those things are going to happen. And bringing it more recently, probably one of, if not the biggest name in the last 5 or 10 years for us has been Dak Prescott, the Cowboys quarterback. We had him when he was at Mississippi State. So, yeah, we're proud of that history and glad that legacy is there for us.
Harold Grader with us right now. He's the Associate Executive Director of the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. What was it like hosting Memphis this past year?
It's different when you have the home team. A lot of it, and when you're playing in their stadium as well, trying to get the home fans to understand this is not a Tiger home game. You are not going to be able to get your season tickets, get your seats that you're used to going to. Actually, your seats are going to be on the other side of the stadium. Just those educational pieces of it, where for the fans of we're not going to do things exactly the way the university does their home game, but it is special and unique. It's only the second time in our 65 years to have had the Tigers in our game. Ryan Silverfield's doing a great job there with the Tigers. That ended up being win number 10 for the Tigers. I think it was only the 4th or 5th time in the history of the university to win 10 games in a season. So, to be able to showcase the home team and for them to cap off a special season for them in an iconic bowl game like the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, all of those pieces coming together was special, not just for us, not just for the university, but for the entire community.
What does this mean for you here? Getting a chance to be around your peers, all these bowl games and seminars, this particular, the vendor, mixer that they're having until 7 o'clock. You tell me, what is bowl season like for this annual convention?
Well, Nick Carparelli and his staff and the host bowl, which is Bernie and his incredible staff with the Tony the Tiger. Am I getting the name right?
Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. That's right.
I want to make sure I get the sponsor right.
There you go.
They're doing a great job, and just to be able to come together, number one, just to see our friends, make new friends with the bowl game, the trade show, the breakout sessions. It's about catching up. Number one, from a social perspective. 2, just exchange information, get caught up on the latest speculation and whatever's on the rumor mill, and just see what's up with merchandise. Is there something new that we should consider for our player gift pack, for example? What about the way you run your pregame events, or something for your halftime show? The best ideas are the ones that you steal from someone who's been successful with them previously, right? And we all are competitive, but we're all in this together because it is a unique brotherhood, I would say. The bowl industry is unique. There's only 40-something of us that do this. And, there's different levels. Obviously, you have the mega games at the top all the way down to the games that have only been around for a handful of years. But there is a camaraderie here. We know that college athletics is changing and that we all need to stick together and learn from one another and benefit from one another. And bringing it all together at the annual bowl season annual meetings is special and unique and beneficial for all of us.
Harold, do you have a broadcast background?
Unfortunately, I do. Yeah.
I could have figured that the minute you opened your mouth and started talking during this interview.
Yeah, I was a TV guy for 15 years at WMC, the NBC affiliate in Memphis.
How long have you been doing this now?
This is year 26.
Good for you.
Me.
Wow.
And my dad, being a native Texan, proud graduate of the University of Houston, used to ask me if I was ever going to get a real job, because I did TV for 15 years, and at that point, before he passed, I'd been in this for 24 years, and he would look at me once a year and ask, "Are you ever going to get a real job?" Dad, I'm trying to avoid that. So far, so good. And again, it's special to have come from that world, 15 years of doing sports on television, bringing some of those relationships, coaches, athletic directors, presidents, chancellors, to this role as the associate director of the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. And again, it's a relationship business, whether it's among the bowls, vendors, our TV partners. I just saw our friends from ESPN just got to town. We'll be seeing them, but it's all about relationships, and this is a great way to renew those relationships on an annual basis.
Well, enjoy it. Enjoy El Paso while
Absolutely.
you're here, and we appreciate you stopping by and telling us a little bit about the AutoZone Liberty
Thanks
Bowl.
for the time, and again, congratulations and thanks to Bernie and his team and the city of El Paso for hosting us.
You got it. He's Harold Grader, folks, Associate Executive Director of the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, as we continue here on Sports Talk. We'll come back with more in a moment, but first, let's go to Charlie 1 and get ourselves this traffic update. Welcome back, everybody. 22 past the hour as we continue here on Sports Talk. We are coming your way live once again from bowl season, the bowl convention happening here in downtown El Paso, along with Adrian Broadus, Cade McConnell, Steve Kaplowitz here. It is a massive networking event. That is the best way to put it. We are seeing people coming through, and it's weird. We're broadcasting live, yet I almost feel like we're a vendor booth part of this whole process, don't you guys?
It definitely feels like that. I've come up and meet some really cool people in the last couple meetings here and gotten to talk about stuff that I didn't think I was going to get to talk about today or ever. And so it's really cool that, I'm here and get a chance for this. As excited as I am to go to our meetings tonight for practice, I am also really bummed because I would love to be able to stay here the entire time.
Okay, let me ask you this, Kate. In your whole life, have you ever been given more than 2 business cards in one given setting?
I don't think so.
Because you've been securing the business cards over here.
I have, and I've gotten both Nick and Harold have been generous enough to give me the business card, and 2 great people, fun to talk to, very down to earth. And like I said, that's what's so cool about this event is that it's all about networking, relationships, and talking with people. And us just sitting right here broadcasting live, we've already had so many people come up to the stand, talk to us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
There you go. I mean, it sounds to me like when it's all said and done at UTEP and you're looking for another career, you can be working at about 10 different bowl games between now and then. Who knows? Well, we'll make sure we get the Rose Bowl to stop by since that's going to be your backyard.
Right, exactly. And you know what? You never know, right, guys? It's in the football world. I love football. I love sports. And a lot of this is just about having, an understanding of what's going on in the world of college football and specifically bowl games. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and, it's interesting, Cade, because there's so many different bowl games that are out here. I want to just, hammer this home. We talked about this topic earlier today about the notion, are bowl games irrelevant? Well, when you look and hear all the passion that's here, you realize that bowl games are very much alive, and there's not necessarily going to be any kind of slowing down when it comes to bowl games anytime soon.
No, there's not. Bowl games are special. They're the things that people remember forever, especially people that have went to watch them on TV, or played in them. And the things that we're seeing here behind the scenes are what make all these bowls so special for everybody involved, and that's why they're never going to go away.
I agree completely. And, you also talk about some of the most historic ones, like the one that we have here in our own backyard, the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. It celebrates milestones all the time. And we talk about the longevity about its bowl game here in El Paso. So, he was saying the bowl games outside the college football playoffs, how do they continue to find relevancy? I think there's going to be relevancy when it comes to all these different teams when they try to win. You heard the Rutgers story. That was awesome. You talk about schools like UTEP who are starving for another bowl game. I know the bowl games have certain teams that don't prioritize it when it comes to the postseason, but to hear all the response from these bowl games here and hear their excitement and energy behind it, they're not stopping anytime soon. They're just looking for different ways, and I think they're going to embrace things like NIL to try to incentivize things like all the bowl games that you might see here moving forward. That might be really cool, right, to have NIL be a big part of bowl games moving forward.
Yeah, we already talked about it before, how NIL is changing the landscape of bowl games, but we also talked about how having colleges have the ability to give out NIL and schools actually be able to control that, it becomes a much more controlled environment, and then they can work with things like bowl season and the bowl association in order to move forward positively with really cool progress and some different creativity. So I'm excited to see what happens. I hope we get to talk about this in the future again and kind of reflect back and see what's changed.
Most definitely.
Guys, we get a chance right now to keep the guests coming in. John Sacenti is the executive director of the Las Vegas Bowl. They are going to be hosting this bowl season convention next year, and we know the Las Vegas Bowl well because they are also in that same Pac-12 mix, or what we call the conference now, as a result of what's happened over the last 12 months or so. John, welcome to Sports Talk here in El Paso, and thanks for being a part of it today.
Guys, thanks for having me on. I'll tell you what, this is my second trip to El Paso in just the last 2 months, and it never disappoints. I'll tell you, the people can't be any more friendly, and I love Mexican food, and I had nothing but Mexican food while I'm here. I'm getting a little thicker, but having a great time here.
Well, it's funny. We were saying earlier that we were in Vegas back in February for the Super Bowl. We broadcasted live from Radio Row for 4 days, had a chance to realize what that Vegas hospitality was like, went to Allegiant Stadium, saw what they did for the big game, and realized that as someone who is the executive director, partners with the Vegas Bowl, that city has grown in leaps and bounds by what it's been able to do for professional and college sports over the last 10, 20 years.
I'll tell you what, I've been out there now close to 30 years. I went to UNLV. At the time, it was, we had a bowl game. We had UNLV football, UNLV basketball, and we had AAA baseball, and that was it.
Yep.
And the events that we attracted, top boxing matches, but nothing like what we're seeing now. Right now, with the emerging venues that we have, we can host anything in the world. And when you have your largest taxpayers are the hotels and the casinos, and at the end of the day, you're trying to drive tourism, you're trying to attract people to the destination. They task the convention authority with. There's not an event that's out there that we don't want, right? And so
sure.
You saw we just had the Super Bowl. We just had Formula One, which was unbelievable. We announced the Final Four. I think you're going to see a college football playoff national championship here coming soon, and it's never ending. And when you live there, you have to make some really, really tough decisions because there's so many events going on. I'm like, I cannot do 2 or 3 major events every single week. It's killing me.
Yep.
So you got to kind of pick a couple. And this past weekend we had UFC 300. It's unbelievable what that town has going on these days.
John, the talk for us was they wanted the Super Bowl to be here every year in Vegas. I mean, that was what a lot of people were talking about because the committee did it so well. Everything was convenient with the Strip, all the events, the venues. I mean, look, I went to Vegas for about a 10-year period during Oscar De La Hoya's championship run, broadcasted this live from Radio Row for about a dozen of his fights, and it was just so easy and convenient. That was the one thing I hear from everybody they love about the Super Bowl, Vegas in general, is it's just all right there.
It is all right there. And if you were there in Radio Row, you probably stayed at Luxor, New York, Mandalay Bay, Delano, right? You came right out of your hotel. You walked across the bridge. You were right at the stadium. The one thing that people don't talk about, sure, the infrastructure's there. The venues are there. The fun is there. We have 180,000 hotel rooms. All that stuff is great. The one thing that when you live there and you hear any event or anybody that comes to town, the reason the Super Bowl said it, Vegas, more than any city in the world, has a can-do attitude. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get, well, that's not how we do it, or that's not what we do, or we can't really do that. There's never a no. There's a can-do attitude for everything, and we find a way to make it happen. We have a lot of people that are always pulling in the same direction, and that's why you see these events constantly wanting to come back there. The NFL could not have been any more pleased with everything that happened and the setup that was there and the structure that was there and the ability to bring your sponsors in and have them in nice hotels and have plenty of meeting space for every party under the sun to be able to do there. It's that can-do attitude and that can-do attitude in a little bit of an over-the-top way. So it's the perfect recipe for being, now we used to be the entertainment capital of the world. Now we are the sports and entertainment capital of the world, hands down.
No doubt.
John, you talked about the Super Bowl. 2 years ago is the draft. How is Vegas embracing college football? Because the NFL's had a lot of success, but what about college football in Vegas?
Well, I think you're seeing it more and more, right? And unfortunately, for a number of years, UNLV was down, and they were not playing up to a high standard of football, and they were attracting, lesser caliber teams, if you will. UNLV seems to get things on the right track right now. Barry Odom put a great season together. They played in the conference championship game, so Vegas is embracing it a little bit more. The Bowl has played a key role in continuing college football and growing college football there. This September, we're probably going to have the game of the year kicking off in Las Vegas, which is part of our Las Vegas Bowl lineup. We have the Vegas Kickoff Classic, which is going to feature probably, the rankings aren't out yet, but I would say 2 top 10 teams. We have USC and we have LSU to kick off the season on Labor Day Sunday in Vegas. This will be a sold-out event. We'll have 60,000 people in the stadium, but the beauty about Vegas, we'll probably have another 100,000 that come to town just to hang out and party and be a part of the weekend. And so we're pretty proud of kind of help paving that path. Because for years, the NCAA wanted no part of Vegas, right? We used to have to file a waiver every year and put paperwork together. They didn't want to have a bowl game in Vegas, let alone have these major college events. Now we're hosting every conference basketball tournament. We're out for the Frozen Four. We have the wrestling championship. Like we're hosting every NCAA championship under the sun. The world has changed a little bit, but we've also proven in Vegas that we do things in a pretty over the top, big way.
John Cicenti is the executive director of the Las Vegas Bowl, and he joins us here on Sports Talk as we continue. So you've been doing this 10 years, at least running this bowl game for 10 years when ESPN, named you the executive director. When Allegiant Stadium was built, that was a game changer because that took a bowl game that was just it was Vegas, it was a bowl, and it still was important, but it suddenly made it big time because you have a gorgeous brand new indoor stadium to host that is one of the crown jewels that city is showcasing. So you tell me, when you knew that Allegiant was coming, was your first reaction like, thank God, the timing is perfect, and now we can start doing some of the things I really want to do with this game?
Yeah, listen, we had a really good long run. And you said this at the beginning. We've always been tied to the Sun Bowl, right? For years, we were the pick behind the Sun Bowl. Mm-hmm. And then for several years, we were the pick just in front of the Sun Bowl. So we've always been tied on the Pac-12 side. We had a great, long-standing relationship with the Mountain West and always had the number one pick out of the Mountain West. When that stadium got announced, I'll never forget, we went down to Phoenix at the spring meetings. And, I was a younger guy. You said it. I've been with the Bowl for 22 years. But I was the executive director, just for a couple of years at this time, and there were conference commissioners and Power 5 conferences that never gave me the time of day that I never talked to, and for the first time ever, I felt like the pretty girl at the dance because you have the commissioner of the Big Ten coming up to you going, "We need to talk." You have the commissioner of the SEC coming up going, "We need to talk," and all of a sudden we find ourselves in a position where we're like, "All right, we have the Pac-12 as our anchor partner. We have interest from the Big Ten. We have interest from the SEC." Holy crap, this is the real deal. Fortunately, we were able to strike a deal where we created a little bit of a rotation where we rotate in the Big Ten and the SEC. The Pac-12 remained our anchor. But we knew two things. One, that was going to elevate our game, having those conferences in there, kind of put us in the upper echelon, if you will, of bowl games. But two, it was the long-term play, right? We knew there'd be a college football playoff national championship coming. We knew if we had 3 of the Power 5 conference commissioners embracing Las Vegas and experiencing Las Vegas and enjoying the partnership with Las Vegas, it was going to lead to more, and it has, right? So mission accomplished. At the end of the day, doing a lot what Bernie does a phenomenal job here, driving tourism to this destination and showing people what your city's all about, and the over the top hospitality. We have the same mission, right? Our job is to drive tourism to Las Vegas, bring people to Las Vegas, have a great experience, and these are your future customers, right? You want them leaving and coming back and going, nobody does it as well as Vegas. I will now come back on vacation. I'll come back and visit myself, right? They're your future customers. So it's been a good fun run, and Allegiant has been a game changer.
What are some of the biggest challenges your bowl specifically faces? Just kind of a general question.
Listen, the biggest challenges that our bowl faces are the biggest challenges that every bowl faces, quite frankly, and honestly, it's the same challenges that college football is facing, right? Like the calendar is a little bit of a challenge. The transfer portal is a little bit of a challenge when you have selection Sunday taking place, and then Monday the transfer portal opens and you select a team and you're not getting that same team that you picked. That's challenging, right? What that does is it changes the makeup of the matchup that you think you put together. It's a great matchup. At the same time, it creates a little bit of fan apathy, right? If you have fans that are going, oh, well, we lost half our team, or we're disappointed, or the playoff is expanded and we're not in it. We've got to keep fans engaged. We've got to keep the players engaged in wanting to participate in these games. And it's the same challenge that we're all facing. And it's transfer portal, it's NIL, it's the calendar and where things fall with the ability of the recruiting calendar and the transfer portal. couple minor changes, and I think we're going to be right. At the end of the day, people still watch it. The players that participate still love it. We're doing some pretty special things. We've just got to change a little bit of the things that we're doing. Those are the things that keep me up at night. It's the same things that keep every bowl director up at night.
John, you have a pretty unique job, and not a lot of people get to do this, and not a lot of people know what you do on a day-to-day basis, but I would love to know, what's your favorite part of the job? Something that you get to do that, maybe not a lot of people would know or understand. What do you love about doing this?
Couple things. One, well, first of all, I get to design my own game day shoes every year. So these are last year's game day shoes. That's my favorite.
That's pretty cool.
Those are pretty tight. The Welcome to Las Vegas sign and the Vegas on the back. That's actually the funnest thing that I do every year. I got a buddy that helps me with these. But honestly, my favorite part of it is this right here. The relationships, the friendships that I've built with whether it be athletic directors or coaches or these other bowl directors. Like, I love this, right? When we sit around here and we talk shop and we talk about some of the challenges, some of the successes, and the relationships that we form. At the end of the day, we're in the fun business. We're in the entertainment business. There's a lot of crap that comes along with that. But this is what I love the most: getting to spend time on Bernie Olivas, who's your director here. I've known for 20 years, one of my favorite people in the bowl business, and I've formed such a good relationship with him. And when I was up for the job, I'll never forget it. He was one of 3 bowl guys that called up and said, "This is your guy. You need to hire him. It's a no-brainer." And then I get the job, and the first week I'm on the job, him and the other 2 guys that I'm referring to actually called me up and said, "What can I do to help you?" Right? And that says a lot about those people, and that says a lot about the relationships that you build with these folks. And at the end of the day, like I love game day. I love bowl week. I love watching their faces when they're experiencing loss. I mean, the last couple of years we had Florida playing our game 2 years ago. 90% of the kids that were on the Florida roster had never been to Las Vegas, have never been on the West Coast. So they walked in, their eyes are bugging out. They're seeing the Bellagio fountains. They're experiencing Vegas for the first time. That was awesome for me, right? The bowl week experience, the relationships here. That at the end of the day, that's what keeps me doing what we're doing.
Cade, have you been to Vegas? Because it's funny, you mentioned NIL and portal. Cade is our spring intern. He's a quarterback at UTEP right now, so the fact that you brought that up is interesting. Yeah. Have you been to Vegas?
I have been to Vegas, but I haven't got to go to Vegas, number one, since I've been 21, and I haven't been to Vegas in as cool of a setting as going to a bowl game.
Listen, I'm guessing Cade, if he comes to one of our pool parties, he's not going to struggle, man. I think the ladies are they're gonna welcome him with open arms in Vegas. He's not going to struggle at all.
John, be careful.
Buddy, I'm hanging with you.
Be careful who you send invitations to, okay?
I'm rolling with you when you do come to Vegas, man.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. Sean, it's been a lot of fun having you on the show. We appreciate that. Yeah. And, again, it's, it's interesting. John, you and I have something in common.
Okay.
We're both Brooklyn natives.
Get out of here.
Yes.
Where are you from?
Born in Brooklyn, then Massapequa Park, then moved to El Paso many years ago. So
not a lot of people go from Brooklyn to El Paso, man.
That's true. That is true.
I grew up in Kings Highway, not far from Sheepshead Bay.
Know it very well.
I did a stop off in Jersey though before I went to college. I went to UNLV, and I had a job in sports before I finished college, and never left. And it's the best thing that ever happened to me, and I'm loving it. But I do want to say, you're probably getting close on time. I always like thanking people like you. You folks coming out here and supporting this, but I have a funny feeling you help tell the story and why bowl games matter and why it's important to these communities. And so thank you for doing that on behalf of us other bowl people. And El Paso has a great reputation. Sun Bowl has a great reputation, and it's in part for you guys helping to tell that story. So thank you.
We've had a relationship with the Sun Bowl since we've been in doing this show, and it's 34 years running. So we appreciate that. Thanks for being here. Enjoy the time while you're here, and
thank you.
Come back and see us.
We'll get a refill here in a minute now.
There you go.
All right, thank
John
you, guys.
Saccenti, folks, as we continue on Sports Talk. We'll come back with more in a moment. 600 ESPN El Paso. Coming your way live from the bowl season annual meetings here in El Paso. We continue right now with Kevin Ash. He's the Chief Administrative Officer of the Rose Bowl game, brought to you by Prudential and one of the bowl playoff semifinals. First off, Kevin, welcome to El Paso. I'm sure not your first go-around here in town.
It is my first time in El Paso.
Really?
And yes, it is. And I've enjoyed every minute of it. It's a fantastic town.
That's great to hear. And yet, you, Bernie, a lot of the guys that have, I guess, had the Pac-12 relationships over the years, you go back many, many years, don't you?
We go back a long time, a long, long time. In fact, I was an athlete in the Pac-12 when I was at school. So
nice.
I go way back before the bowl business.
Where'd you play, and what did you play?
I was at USC, and I played volleyball for them.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
And did you guys have a chance to go deep into the NCAA tournament in those years?
1 year we won the national championship.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
Excellent.
you're a national champion. We're speaking to a national champion.
We are speaking to a
Yeah, I
national
like it.
champion.
Yeah.
That's. Did you go pro?
No. The beach, you know what? I lived on the beach, and that's where I learned to play the game. And but when you're indoor and you're playing for college, it's 24/7. Do you know what I'm saying? So by the time I got to the summer, the beach circuit hadn't really started yet. It was just starting behind me, and so I just spent the time in the summer to travel and stuff like that. So I never transitioned in, even though I played a lot on the beach.
Since you have a lens that you have with the student athlete in perspective, how does that change your outlook on things that you do day to day for the Rose Bowl?
That's a great question. I often put my student athlete hat on and wonder good things and bad things. You know, what's happening with NIL, what's happening with the portal. You know, is it better the other way? Is it better this way? Do you know what I'm saying? It seems like it's extreme sometimes. You know what I'm saying? You go from one side to the next, you know? So.
Yeah. Although I'll say this, if you're a student athlete now, it'd be a little different, I'm sure, than your days at USC.
It would be, yeah.
Meanwhile, unlike some bowl games that have the dilemma of picking teams and hoping their rosters remain intact, being right now a playoff semifinal or playoff quarterfinal as things evolve pretty much lets you know that the teams that play in your game will be the teams that most fans are used to watching as far as the roster makeup goes. It's a big advantage, really, when you talk about the Rose Bowl.
I think so. I mean, we're going to find out more as we get into the next couple months and then as it transitions into 27. But there's 12 teams. It's the top 12 teams. But it's not just the top 12 teams. There's a seeding system. So you basically take top 12 teams, but then you've got to have the 5 conference champions and then 12 at large. So there could be a team that comes from, you know, the 20th spot or the 15th spot or something like that. So, but we are guaranteed a quarterfinal or a semifinal every year in the next 2 years. And then as it gets into 27 to 32, if we continue, and we will, into that cycle, we will be with the playoff there as a quarterfinal and a semifinal as well. So, and it'll be on a rotation basis.
With the Rose Bowl comes a lot of the external events, like the parade, like everything that goes around. How do those events help just boost the excitement for the overall game, even though, I mean, hey, the game itself is already great, right?
You know what? It's so much integrated into one day. Do you know what I'm saying? It's almost like a New Year's celebration. So you've got the parade in the morning, you've got the game in the afternoon, and it's really kind of magical. And if we stayed on that day, which we're trying to do right now, and play after the parade, then there's just kind of a flow of people that want to come to our game and be part of the whole, New Year's Day celebration, the parade, the game, and then it's just a great day. So.
Kevin Ash with us, the Chief Administrative Officer of the Rose Bowl game. If a fan has never made the trip to a Rose Bowl game and just been a part of that atmosphere, how do you describe it to them, especially if they've maybe experienced a big game atmosphere before, just nothing like this?
I think one of the things that's very special about the Rose Bowl Stadium is that it's obviously it's a classic stadium. There's so much history there. It's an outdoor facility. There's been so many Heisman Trophy winners, so many national championships there. Magically on January 1st, we're at the fourth quarter and you see the sun come down and you got the mountains in the background and they just turn red, and it's just something special. I don't know what it is. There's an electricity in that building that I just have never seen anywhere else. So Hopefully we can keep it going. Hopefully we get the tradition going, and the Pac-12 Big Ten becomes more of the playoff now, and we transition into that, and things evolve that way. So,
for tradition specifically, how important is that in terms of the rest of bowl games and just to preserve the history and traditions that we use every single year, year after year?
Could you say that again, please?
Yeah, no, just when it comes to the Rose Bowl game itself, you talk about all the traditions that it has and it holds. How important is it to use that for all sorts of bowl games across the board?
I think it's really important, and I talked to Bernie about this a lot. And we've got two of the oldest bowls in the country, and along with the Sugar Bowl and the Orange Bowl, and it's really important. That history is so important to everybody, especially the local people. Do you know what I'm saying? And what they've seen and what they've built over time. But we all have to evolve in order to survive. You know what I'm saying? So how do you transition? How do you keep the old and the history and the traditions going, but evolve into the new? And that's the challenge that I think we're all doing, especially the older bowls. Do you know what I'm saying? So
at the same time, the future is so unpredictable, not just with the expanded playoff, but we're wondering if there's ever going to be a time where maybe the top 50 schools just separates, becomes their own entity, their own business, and then decides they're just going to slug it out and play each other. It's so hard to look into a crystal ball right now, Kevin, and figure out really what the future holds after the next few years.
Absolutely. I mean, it's when you see what's transpired in college athletics, especially coming out of COVID and what's gone on and NIL and the portal and trying to keep get enough money to not only keep football alive, but keep the other sports alive, which is a challenge right now. How do you keep your Olympic sports alive in schools and so forth? And there's a lot of smaller universities that are having to get rid of their Olympic sports right now because they can't afford it with everything going on. So hopefully they can find, the commissioners, especially on the football side, the commissioners can find, that balance in regards to kids and what they're paying them and some guardrails around it so it can kind of progress forward and actually make some sense. There's a lot of chaos going on right now, and it's very confusing for people. And it's very stressful for the bowls, I got to tell you.
Final question, and that is, what's the most satisfying part of your job?
You know what? I think it's working with the people. I think it's working with the coaches and the administrators. And you know what? I've seen enough games over the years. I've been doing the game since '84. I've been CAA over the game since '98 when they started the BCS, brought me in. And I think there's something special about the people as you get older, and they mean the most to you. I still, to this day, the one thing that gets me going during the game is when the teams run out on the field and you see the mountains out there and the people are going nuts. I mean, there's something special about that at the Rose Bowl game. So those are the things I hang on to and I try to capitalize on and keep me going. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because you can't focus on negativity. You got to stay positive and you got to evolve. And so hopefully we can do that and we'll be successful as we move forward.
Terrific stuff, Kevin. Enjoyed meeting you, and enjoy yourself while you're here in El Paso.
Love meeting you guys too. I love El Paso, guys. And you know what? Bernie Olivas is the greatest guy in America. I love that guy.
Awesome. It's good stuff. He's Kevin Ash joining us, Chief Administrative Officer of the Rose Bowl game. We're back. Final 30 minutes with us next. The Sports Talk continues. 600 ESPN El Paso.
I'm Alberto Lueta with your 600 ESPN El Paso Sports Center update. The Dolphins will exercise the fifth-year options for wide receiver Jalen Waddle and linebacker Jalen Phillips. General Manager Chris Greer said Tuesday. Rashee Rice and Teddy Knox are being sued in Texas for over $1 million in actual damages and $10 million in punitive damages by two people who say they were injured in a six-vehicle crash March 30th in Dallas. The plaintiffs allege Rice and Knox deliberately raced their vehicles at speeds well beyond their posted limits and caused the six-vehicle crash that led to their injuries. The executor of O.J. Simpson's estate has reserved his stance on working to prevent a payout of a $33.5 million judgment after awarded by a judge to the families of Simpson's ex-wife Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend Ron Goldman in a wrongful death lawsuit. Barcelona's coach Xabi Alonso fumed about the decision to send Ronald Araujo off as his side were eliminated from the Champions League after Tuesday's 4-1 defeat to Paris Saint-Germain at the Olympic Stadium. The LA Clippers forward Kawhi Leonard will get the 12th and final roster spot on Team USA for the 2024 Olympics, sources told Adrian Wojnarowski on Tuesday. Lakers currently taking on the Pelicans in the NBA play-in. That for the West. Pelicans up 34-26 right now, 25.4 seconds left to play in the first. This was your Sports Center update for 600 ESPN El Paso.
Here we go. We got about 25 minutes left on Sports Talk. Just enjoyed seeing Jeff Symbieta, who runs the New Mexico Bowl, and got him taken care of with some Chihuahuas tickets for tonight.
Nice,
I feel
Steve.
good about that. And you know what? He'll be on the show tomorrow. Great job, by the way, by Alberto Urueta taking care of us here as we are live at the El Paso Convention Center. It is the bowl season annual meeting. It's as simple as that. The bowl season annual meeting. Every bowl game in the country is here. You've had a sampling of Las Vegas, the Rose Bowl. You also had the Liberty Bowl earlier. It's been a lot of fun. The head of bowl season. Terrific. We're right back tomorrow doing the same exact show here with more guests, and that's going to be a lot of fun. Adrian, I've enjoyed the first 2 hours, but we've got some good local topics, some UTEP topics to talk about that have hit really since earlier today before we even got on the air.
Yeah, UTEP basketball news. Transfer portal is active right now. There's a lot going on when it comes to recruiting, and there's some recruiting news to touch on. There's also transfer portal news for UTEP football to touch on as well. And there's just a lot to. Oh, and also some UTEP football spring news. The spring game news. They announced a new head coach today on the celebrity recognition side of things.
I saw that. Matter of fact, first it was Will Hernandez. Now a man who is also in college football coaching, a friend of the program, and excited about this news today, too.
Yeah, Quentin Demps, UTEP great, all-time legend. He will get a chance to play coach here for the upcoming UTEP football spring game. So he's going to be the other honorary coach. Quentin Demps, remember, he played in the NFL for 10 years, 10 seasons, played as a defensive back. So you know he's going to be having a lot to say about this UTEP defense. And, by the way, the Quentin Demps Foundation, still a nonprofit that serves underserved families here in El Paso. So Quentin Demps, you can call him a member of this community despite being the head coach at Judson University, like you mentioned. That's a NAIA JUCO school. I'm not sure which one it is, but regardless, Steve, cool that he's coming back for this event.
It's terrific. And, again, it's the UTEP spring game. We found out today that one of UTEP's quarterbacks will be no longer. In fact, Adrian, you retweeted this on Twitter and X a little while ago that Jake McNamara announced he would be hitting the transfer portal. And I'll say this. Sorry to see this, because I really thought that when Scotty Walden arrived with the system, the offense, the type of quarterback he's looking for, I really felt like Jake McNamara would have been a nice long-term play for the Miners, that I could see him evolving into a starting quarterback over the next few years based on his skill set and what this offense allows. Unfortunately, that will not happen, and now wish Jake nothing but the best as he is going to try to explore another university for him.
Yeah, something to mention, found out today also his brother Kyle McNamara is in the transfer portal as well, so both McNamara brothers are gone from UTEP. Cade McNamara, he is somebody who played at Michigan and went over to Iowa, so maybe there's some urgency from, you say, hey, play the long game at the quarterback spot. Yeah. Maybe there's some urgency behind Jake McNamara to just see the field, right? Like this past season, he was really the second string, backup quarterback right behind Gavin Hardison. As soon as he played with the Miners, he actually got hurt and suffered a concussion. Kevin Hurley went into the mix. He also got injured, wasn't able to finish out the season. That's why Cade McConnell was basically, thrust into the quarterback role last year. But yeah, just somebody who didn't really get an opportunity to showcase what he could do for this team.
And it's tough because the concussion that Jake suffered was a lingering one. In fact, he was never able to get back on the field for UTEP after he got hurt, and it was a shame. So can you imagine you're competing for a starting spot, you're competing for a role, you get your opportunity, and it's such a short-lived opportunity. That's got to be really difficult but it also goes to show you how tough sports can be. I mean, you could be playing 1 minute and then out the next, and that's kind of what happened with Jake McNamara.
Yeah, and I feel for him, right, because this is not the right time to be transferring and not the easiest time to try to find other opportunities elsewhere. So I'm not sure if D1 right now, is in the cards for Jake McNamara, knowing the limited playing experience he's had at the D1 level, but it could be a possibility. I mean, he's somebody who is a very polished quarterback at the high school level. He came to UTEP with a lot of pedigree behind him. And then for Kyle McNamara, he got a chance to play with the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers, got a chance to play here for the Miners, and now looking for a third school to transfer to. So, to the best to both these guys. They joined us in our studios in the past, and for the McNamara brothers, sad to see them go. But this is, to be expected, to just say the least, Steve. I would say that others might hit the portal here for the transfer portal now that the window's open.
Yep.
Scotty Walden alluded to this, not looking to see guys in the portal right now, but this is the college football day and age. It's just the day and age in the sport.
You're right. That's what's going to happen, and really can't say we're too surprised. And I wouldn't be. Maybe we see another dozen or more players go into the portal after the spring game, because remember this, and it's important to note this. Scotty Walden is evaluating players in game situations for the first time over the last 3 or 4 weeks. He finally is getting a chance to see what players can do outside of individual and group workouts. So now he knows if these are players that he really feels can help him come September. And if not, when they meet together, the conversation is probably going to be, look, if you really are trying to find a place to play, you might be better off going someplace else. Right. And if that happens, then you know what? We could see some roster turnover at UTEP, and maybe the Miners go into the portal for some extra players. This also could clear the way, meaning McNamara could clear the way for the Miners to go out and try to add another player in the portal at quarterbach before the season starts.
Yeah, and I think that's going to happen regardless, right? I think that what you heard from Scotty Walden when he joined us yesterday in the show, they're prioritizing visits that they have this spring game. So those are guys, some of them could be graduate transfers. Some of them could be guys who joined this team here in the summer immediately. So that is the reality here for this UTEP football team. I think the roster is going to be very fluid between now all the way till the August 31st kickoff when they take on Nebraska. That's just the reality of the situation.
No, that's a good point. Really, really good point. So again, the big news today, Jake McNamara's brother Kyle in the portal. Who knows who else could be following? It wouldn't be surprising if other Miners make it after the bowl game, after the spring game on Saturday, which, by the way, we talked about this yesterday. We're airing this game It's going to start up, I believe, our pregame show right around 9:45 because they're going to go right at it at 10. Probably about a 3-hour spring game, and looking forward to all the action on 600 ESPN El Paso with John. We're also going to have the entire group, and that's Cole, it's Monster, it's everybody. The whole broadcast team going to be part of it Saturday morning. And Minor Talk coming up after the spring game as well.
That's right. We're going to be live at the District West, 3233 North Mesa. So after the garage sale, after you get all the good goodies, stop by and join us. You know, a little day drinking, a little day eating out at the District West, and we'll have so much fun out there this Saturday right after the UTEP game.
All right. Also, the other big story that happened involving UTEP does not involve football. It involves basketball. And that is hearing that Jorge Moreno, who had signed with UTEP back in November of last year, decided to reopen his recruitment and said that, here was the direct quote on Twitter and X. After speaking with my coaches and family, I've decided to open my recruitment once again. I would like to thank UTEP for recruiting and offering me, and I wish them the best going forward. So this is also going to be kind of interesting. This was a possibility. I heard this could be happening, and I believe the simple answer is this, okay? Number one, Joe Golding had 2 scholarships after the season ended, and might realize, you know what? He needs 3. He needs 3 impact players. He can't just hope for 2. He's got to try to hit it out of the park with 3 guys on top of what he currently has coming in with the freshmen. And maybe Moreno just wasn't going to be the kind of impact that he's looking for to try to build on that championship run in the tournament just a few months back. Maybe he's seeing it now and realizing, I have to make sure I can get 3 of the best players in the portal I can, and unfortunately, with my bigs coming back and what I have right now, I just need a little bit better. That could end up being the case when it's all said and done.
When you assess the UTEP basketball roster, the first thing that you're going to look at is the fact that they're losing 3 guys who had all-conference calibers type of play in Calvin Solomon, Zid Powell, and Tay Hardy. How do you replace that if this was the nucleus of the team that made a run to the Conference USA Championship game? That just tells you right there, this team has to prioritize these 3 rosters. I love the fact that it's 3, not just 2. If you only had a pair of scholarships going in here to the final stages here of the transfer portal, that limits that narrows your search significantly. And so now that they've got 3 scholarships to offer instead of 2, I think that's huge news for this UTEP basketball team. And I think it allows them to take chances here in the recruitment process. I'm not saying to get a project, Steve. You got to get a difference maker, but maybe take a little bit of a chance here on some of the junior college guys that they seem to be going after. And these junior college guys are D1 bounce backs right now.
Or do they swing for the fences and try to knock it out of the park with all 3 guys?
Well, that's my priority right there. I'd say 3 difference makers. Give me 3 guys who are coming either from the low-level Division I or high-level but couldn't get on the court and just want more playing time. So that's my priority. That's the number 1 priority I would have if I'm a UTEP basketball coach. Second level behind that is give me a junior college bounce-back guy who's a highly rated player and somebody like Corey Camper who could step in and be a difference maker in year 1.
And the fact is, they have a 7-2 kid that's been sitting out this past season.
Yeah.
They already have Hamilton coming back. They already have pretty much all their bigs coming back. Kalu is coming back. Everybody that was a part of last year's team that didn't graduate is back. So Moreno just might not have had the minutes, the impact. And when you look at it, if you can go out right now and go get yourself a solid 3-4 combo with 2 guards and really get yourself solidified in those spots, now all of a sudden UTEP is that much better, and now they'll have the chance to do that, knowing Moreno is going back into into basically the portal and reopening his recruitment.
You know, I'll say this about Moreno too. I mean, no knock to him. He's somebody a D1 bounce back as well. He played at New Mexico State, then went to the transfer portal, hit the JUCO route, and now is ready to go back D1. So he could definitely garner Conference USA interest, teams who have more scholarships to spend. I would bet you in a year where UTEP had the scholarships, just like last year where they had 7 to offer in the transfer portal offseason process, they would gladly accept a guy like Jorge Moreno. Now, this time around, I look at, Jorge Moreno. I liked how you mentioned Babacar. I mean, the 7-footer. They spent a whole year molding and trying to develop Babacar. So if he gets on the floor, that's basically the Jorge Moreno minutes right there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly right. And you know what? He probably will be a project, and UTEP just realizes we can't have 2 of those. We got to have we need one, and we need more polished players that can play big minutes and really help fill the pieces of the puzzle this upcoming season.
Everything I've seen from Jorge Moreno is he's a true 5. Now, UTEP kind of needs that hybrid 4-5 guy who can space the floor, maybe even shoot from the outside. So that's exactly what they need.
Yep. 18 past the hour. We'll come back. We'll wrap things up next and get you ready for Chihuahuas baseball with Tim Haggerty back home tonight to begin a 6-game stand with Albuquerque that will continue with a day game tomorrow. Excited about that. But first, let's go to Charlie 1 and get ourselves one last traffic update. Countdown here on Sports Talk as we wind up day 1 of 2 out here live from the El Paso Convention Center. The bowl season annual meetings happening right now, and man, they've been a lot of fun. By the way, speaking of fun, tomorrow is going to be just as great. We are going to have guests galore, so if you heard some good ones today, we'll do it again tomorrow, and we come back from 4 to 6:30 and get you right ready to go with El Paso Chihuahuas baseball. As think about it, the voice of the Chihuahuas standing by from the ballpark, and we'll hear from Tim Haggerty coming up here at the bottom of the hour. Meanwhile, I want to say hello to everybody out there that is listening to us online, and also to let you know that we are excited to talk about Palo Verde Homes, a brand new relationship with us here on Sports Talk, and can't say enough good things about Edgar and the folks, especially been doing it now for the last 17 years here in El Paso.
We talk a lot of numbers here on this show, Steve. Okay, I'll throw a couple numbers for Palo Verde Homes. 23 is the number of amazing employees that they've got. 5. I like the number 5. That's the same number David Terrell Jr. wears, by the way. It's 5 engineering, and they also have 3 architecture degrees on staff. They've delivered over 2,300 homes to El Paso families. Hey, 2-3, that's Otis Frazier III right there. That's his number.
Look at you.
They have also, I'm going to give you one more number, Steve.
Please.
8. They've been 8 times the Builder of the Year by the City Magazine and the El Paso Times. 8 different times throughout their 17 years in existence. That is Palo Verde Homes.
I love it, folks. So much more to talk about with those great folks here over the weeks and months to come. But if you want to learn more, go online, paloverdehome.com. That is paloverdehome.com. What coming home should feel like. All right. Meanwhile, as we wind things up with us on the program right now, we've got games going on in baseball. We've got games going on in the NBA. The playoffs have started, Adrian. We have play-in games tonight. Lakers and New Orleans right now. They're late in the second quarter with the Lakers hanging on to a 5-point lead. And then coming up a little bit later, Golden State taking on Sacramento, a battle of 46 and 36 teams.
I am not going to lie to you. As soon as we end today, as much fun as we're having, as much as I want to listen to some Chihuahuas baseball, I'm watching playing basketball tonight. I've got Lakers in this one. I think it'll be tight. I think Anthony Davis will help push them through in this one. D'Angelo Russell leading the way so far with 15 points. That's a nice surprise there for the Lakers. The Lakers just won one in New Orleans on Sunday, so let's see if they can make it back here. And then Warriors-Kings, this one's a coin toss, but I'll give the edge and the slight advantage to the Warriors. I think we'll see Warriors-Pelicans battle it out for the final 8th seed.
Yep, absolutely right. And by the way, Warriors-Pelicans would be interesting, but could you imagine if that ends up happening, and then Lakers get that 7 spot, and we'll see what happens.
If the Lakers lose tonight and it's Warriors versus Lakers for the final
God.
play-in spot, it's like there's 3 good teams here. One of them's got to be left out of the party. Who would it be in that case? Your guess is as good as mine. I think it'd be an awesome matchup if that ends up happening.
Hey, got a big shout-out to Alberto Urueta. What a job he's done with us here today.
As always, man, you hear him on KLAQ sometimes. You hear him on 600 ESPN El Paso the other time. So great job, great stuff there by Alberto. Tomorrow we're back here, and then after our show here on Sports Talk, we've got Hawks Bulls. That's the East play-in tournament out of the NBA as well.
That's because Chihuahuas play tomorrow at noon, 12:05. You want to go play a little hooky at work and go to the ballpark, you can. We'll air the game as well, but that gives us also the full show tomorrow before the NBA game. Excited about that. All right. Thanks to Cade McConnell as well for joining us for the first 2 hours of the program. For Adrian Broadus, I'm Steve Kaplan. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks to Bernie, Eddie, and the Sun Bowl Association. Chihuahuas baseball next. We'll be back here tomorrow.